Week 39. Keywords. The end. All this was like the last grain of salt thrown into saturated solution. Quickly, prickling with needles, crystals began to crawl, harden, freeze. And it was clear to me. Everything had been decided, and tomorrow morning I would do it. It's just like deciding to kill yourself. Perhaps it's only then that I will rise again, because only that which killed can rise again. In the west, the sky shook in blue spasms every second. My head was burning and banging. That is how I sat through the whole night and fell asleep at about 7 in the morning, when darkness was already sagging, beginning to turn green, and the roofs, studded with birds, were becoming visible. I woke up. It was already 10. Obviously, there hadn't been a bell this morning. On the table stood a glass of water, still from yesterday. I greedily swallowed all the water and ran off. I needed to do all this quickly as possible. The sky, desert-like, pale blue, completely eaten away by the storms. The thorny angles of shadows, everything is chiseled in blue autumn air, thin, frightening to touch in case it snaps, shudders, and flies apart as glass dust. And the same inside me. I shouldn't think, mustn't think otherwise. And I didn't think. Perhaps I wasn't actually seeing either, but was recording everything. Here on the street, branches from somewhere with green, amber, crimson leaves on them. Up above, arrows and birds intersecting and rushing about. Nearby, heads open, mouths, arms waving like branches. They must have been the source of this howling, cawing, buzzing. Then empty streets, as though they'd been swept by some sort of plague. I remember I stumbled over something unbearably soft, yielding and yet immobile. I bent over a corpse. He lay on his back, his legs spread apart like a woman's, his face. I recognized the thick African lips, and it was as if his teeth were spraying with laughter even now. His eyes tightly screwed up, he laughed right at me in the face. A second later, I stepped over him and ran off because I couldn't stand it. I needed to do everything quickly, otherwise I felt I would break. I would cave in like overloaded train tracks. Happily, it took only 20 steps until the sign appeared with his gold letters, Bureau of Guardians. I stopped on the threshold, drank down some air as much as I could, and went in. Inside, in the corridor, ciphers were standing in a line in an endless chain with a piece of paper with fat notebooks in their hands. Slowly they moved a step, another step, and stopped again. I started to rush along the length of the chain. My head was fragmenting. I was grasping at sleeves. I was begging them, like a sick person begs to be given something that, with a second of sharpest agony, would end it all immediately. Some woman with a tautly drawn belt over her unif and two sciatic hemispheres distinctly sticking out, she moved from side to side the whole time, as if they were in fact her eyes. She snorted at me. His stomach hurts. Take him to the bathroom. There, the second door on the right, and directed at me laughter. And from this laughter something came up to my throat, and I would never scream or suddenly someone grabbed my elbow from behind. I turned around. It was transparent wing ears. They weren't pink as usual, but crimson. The Adam's apple on his neck fidgeted. It was about to rip through his thin neck skin. Why are you here? He asked, quickly drilling into me. I seized hold of him too. Quickly, into your office. I have to tell you everything right now. It's good that it is you in particular. Maybe it is horrible that it's you, but it's good. He also knew her, which tormented me even more, but maybe he would shudder too when he heard it all, and then we would be killing her together, and I wouldn't be alone in my final second. The door slammed. I remember some sort of piece of paper was stuck down on the door, and it scraped along the floor when the door was closing. Then we were covered with some kind of special airless silence, like a cap. If he had said just one word, didn't matter which, the most nonsensical word, I would have disgorged everything immediately. But he said nothing. I was so tense, all over. There was a buzzing in my ear. I said, not looking. It seems to me that I always hated her. From the very beginning, I struggled, but however, no, don't believe me. I could have saved myself, but didn't want to. I wanted to die. It's more valuable to me than anything. That is, not to die, but that she, and even now, that I already know everything. Do you know that the benefactor summoned me? Yes, I know. But what he told me, you see, this is all doesn't really matter. It's like having the rug pulled out from under you, and you, along with everything that is here on the table, the paper, the ink spills, and everything is smudged. Go on, and hurry up. Others are waiting. And I, choking, getting mixed up, recounted everything that had happened, everything I had written here, about my real self, about my shaggy self, and what she said then about my hands. Yes, that was exactly how everything started, and how I didn't want to fulfill my duty then, how I lied to myself, and how she got counterfeit certificates of illness, and how I was rusting from one day to the other, and about the corridors down below, and how there, behind the wall, all this in senseless lumps, balls, I was choking. I didn't have enough words. He nudged me the words I needed, with crooked, twice-bent lips and a smirk. I gratefully nodded. Yes. And then, what was going on? He had started speaking for me, and I was only listening. Yes, and then, that's exactly how it was. Yes. I feel it started to get colder under my collar, as if from ether alcohol, and I asked with difficulty, but there is no way you can have. He had a smirk on his face. He was saying nothing, curving more and more, and then, but you've been attempting to conceal something from me, and here, while you enumerated everything you noticed behind the wall, you're forgetting one thing. You were saying, no? But don't you remember what you saw there in passing for a second? You saw me. Yes, me. A pause. And suddenly, like a lightning strike to the head, it was shamelessly clear he is also them. And my whole self, all my agonies, all that I exhausted with my last strength brought here like a victory. All this was simply funny, like an ancient anecdote about Abraham and Isaac. Abraham, in a cold sweat, was already waving the knife over his son, over his own self, and then suddenly there was a voice from above. Don't bother, I was just joking. Not moving my eyes from his ever-curving smirk, I propped myself up against the edge of the table with my hands and slowly slid back with the armchair. Then I grasped all of myself in the armful and ran headlong past the screams, the steps, the mouth. I don't remember how I came to find myself downstairs in one of the public latrines by the station of the subterranean rail. Up at ground level, everyone was perishing. The greatest and most intelligent civilization in all history was collapsing. But down here, by some irony, everything had stayed like it was splendid. And to think, all this is condemned, all this will grow over with grasses, and there will only be myths about all this. I started to groan loudly, and at the very moment I felt someone tenderly stroking me on the shoulder. It was my neighbor from the room to the left of mine, who was always busy at his desk. His forehead was an enormous bald parabola, and on his forehead were the yellow, illegible lines of wrinkles, and these lines were about me. I understand you, totally understand you, he said, but still, be calm. It isn't necessary. Everything will return, inevitable return. The only important thing is that everyone finds out about my discovery. I am telling you this first. I have calculated that there is no infinity. I looked at him wildly. Yes, I'm telling you. There's no infinity. If the world is infinite, then the average density of matter, and it must be exactly zero. And since it is not zero, this we know. Then consequently, the universe is finite. Finite, whatever. It is of spherical form, and the average density equals the inverse of the universal radius squared multiplied by, I just have to calculate the numerical coefficient, and then you understand. Everything is finite. Everything is simple. Everything is calculable. Then we will conquer in the philosophical sense. Do you understand? But you, with all due respect, are hindering me from finishing this calculation. You are screaming. I don't know what I was more amazed by, his disclosure of his firmness in this apocalyptic hour. In his hands I saw this only now was a notebook and a logarithmic dial. And I understood, even if everything perishes, it's my duty before you, my unknown, my beloved, to leave my records to finished form. I asked him for some paper, and on it I wrote these final lines. I just wanted to mark a period, like the ancients put crosses over the holes where they sank their dead, but suddenly my pencil shook and fell from my fingers. Listen, I tugged at my neighbor. Yes, listen now, I'm talking to you. You must answer me. And so, where does your finite universe end, or finite universe end? What is there? What is next? He didn't manage an answer from above down the stairs. There was stomping.